Hey, beautiful people. Welcome to the Life You Love podcast. This is Alicia Marks, and today's episode is going to be different than our normal episodes. The goal of this podcast is really to have conversations that can improve the quality of your life. And so, whether I'm interviewing other people or just sharing what's on my mind, I wanted to share the everyday conversations that I have in general because I'm obsessed with understanding life and having the happiest and most peaceful life. But just to be honest with you guys, the last month that I have not been showing up on this podcast has been a very hard month for me. And the months previous to that were very hard as well, as I have been going through a breakup with my boyfriend of 3 years. And I wanted to hop on and share what's been going on. One, because I take it very seriously that I was gone for a month and I want to be consistent here and I want you guys to kind of know what was going on. And two, I feel like this is a big part of my self-development journey. And as I talk about this breakup, I'm also going to pinpoint lessons that I learned about myself along the way. And it's really interesting because, you can be really good in one aspect of your life. You can have one part of your self-love journey really down, really good. And then you can have another part of your journey that is still a work in progress. And I feel like relationships is one of the things in this life that are going to be where a lot of my sometimes harder lessons are. And I'm not saying that because I want to manifest that. I want that. I'd love to just have beautiful relationships. But when it comes to my self-worth in relationships, this is an area that I feel like I am just developing and improving in. This was a big pillar. This was a big lesson for me. So in this episode, I hope to, of course, talk about what happened. I hope to share the real raw emotions I felt. I hope to share what I kind of learned going through this experience. And I hope that this episode can give you strength, if you're going through something similar to this, and maybe even give you a perspective that you haven't yet had. Also, I told you guys I was going to be vulnerable, and this podcast is where I was going to be the most vulnerable. And I'm keeping my promise because I'm not scared of vulnerability. And you shouldn't be either. It is the most authentic thing that you can do. And to let go of your perception of what other people think of you or what you think of yourself or the image that you have of yourself is like one of the strongest things somebody can do. So let's get into this. So let's set the stage. I have been in this relationship for 3 years. And honestly, I will tell you, we had a very overall beautiful relationship. He was my best friend. He was somebody we had really good communication. We had to work through that. But we communicated very openly. We, at this point in our relationship, like barely argued. We were very lovey-dovey. We were very excited to get engaged at the end of this year, to start a family. We were definitely the aunt and uncles who had our nieces and nephews all the time because we loved being with family. We loved the idea of having our own family. We loved kids. And that was always one thing I loved so much about him that we had in common. It's just like that development and love of family. So mid-February, is when I found out. But leading up to this, I had months of like anxiety in a sense of, it was like, am I ready to marry this guy? Like I told you, marriage was probably on the table for the end of this year, 2024, probably December 2024, within months of that. And so I'm in my mind preparing myself to say, am I ready to get married? He had always been very sure, like we're gonna get married. We're gonna get married. And I knew I really loved him, but marriage was something that was kind of scary a little bit. And so I was often going back and forth in my head on, okay, am I sure? Because I don't want to get a divorce. I saw the struggles my mom went through with men, and I didn't want that for myself. And I just kept having this uneasy feeling in my stomach. I was having dreams about him like being another version of himself. I was having dreams about him cheating. I was feeling very like oh, everything's so good. But something in my belly just felt like there was another possibility of a version of who this man actually was. And I was trying to convince myself that that wasn't true. But I sat down and I told myself, I said, okay, Alicia, deal. We are going to find out. And we are going to find out by going through his phone. But I wanted to go through his phone without him having any like awareness that I was about to go through his phone. I hadn't been through his phone in like months. And I didn't want him to know that I wanted to go through his phone or that I was going to go through his phone because I was worried that he would delete everything. And for those of you who are thinking, oh my goodness, why are you going through somebody's phone? Honestly, I've had to have a lot of conversations with myself about that because he would say that often. And I've come to the conclusion of if you want to be in a relationship with me, you're going to let me go through your phone and you can go through my phone. And why is it such a bad thing to want to go through somebody's phone? It shouldn't be something that's an obsession that you're doing all the time. But if you feel uneasy about something and you're curious and you want to see what's going on, I should be able to go through your phone. And I should see that your words 100% align with who you say you are, how you talk, how you carry yourself. I don't want to find out a whole secret identity. I don't want to find out that you've been lying to me and that you talk to me a certain way, but you talk to other people a different way. If I'm willing to let you go through my phone, why can't I go through your phone? And honestly, I feel like this is like a big argument that just goes on in the world. And I just want to squash it. If you're being real and you're being authentic and you're in a serious committed relationship with somebody that you're planning on spending the rest of your life with, we can go through each other's phones. And if that's something your partner, like a value your partner doesn't share with you, but you feel that way, then maybe you guys aren't aligned. Okay. Let me just get that out the way because I've been gaslit so much about going through a phone from my ex, from myself. Like, I just had to be like, no, bro, if you're not cool with that, I'm not for you. Okay. Anyway, so the day finally comes and am able to get his phone password. Basically, like, lay down on his chest while he was on the couch and he was like scrolling TikTok and I like hit his phone to turn it off so that if he opened it again, he'd have to like put his password in. And I was like, hey, like, get off your phone, give me attention. And so he put his phone down and I had my phone up behind his head, like in video mode recording, so that when he pulled his phone back up and had to put in his password, I was recording it. I know, I'm a super spy. And ladies, you can use that trick. Period. Anyway, so that night I didn't go through his phone just because I was tired. We were so lovey-dovey. We were so like, we were just in love, like, and he was telling me how much he loved me and we were cuddling. And that night, it was just a chill night. And I was tired. So I'm like, I'll wait till tomorrow. Little did I know I was being protected. Okay. The next night, I decided to go through his phone. And when I went through his phone, I almost didn't find anything. But I decided to go to the App Store and look at his downloads. And I found a Text Me app. So basically he had downloaded like a secret text on his phone where he wasn't able to like go through Messenger or anything like that, like on his device. So he could delete the app when he was home so I wouldn't see any messages and then re-download them when he wasn't home. And in that Text Me app, I basically like logged in and I saw he was having a conversation with 4 different women. Okay. Jennifer, Kennedy, a girl named Trey, and then there was some girl started with a Z. Actually, it was 3 women. Okay. Now, the girl from his school, it was innocent, but you could tell he was trying to build something up. Like he was sending her pictures on our rooftop with the skyline of Dallas and stuff like that, like trying to look cool and having conversation with her. And I know he was trying to build something up because you could have just texted her on her phone, your regular phone. Why were you texting her from this fake number to begin with? And then the 2 others were, 2 girls from his job. And I went through their messages. I scrolled all the way from the top and all the way down. I spent like 2 hours reading every single message. I screen recorded every message, screenshotted every message, because I was like, he's not going to delete this and gaslight me. And also, I can read this later when I want to refresh my memory on the stupid shit he said. So in that message, he was basically like sweet talking these girls and sending nudes back and forth. One of the messages with the girl named Jennifer is he was like buying a hotel room for them to meet up and have sex. And he was talking about getting like a room at the Omni. And she was like, no, save your money for your wife. You don't have to spend that much money on me. And so they went with like a cheaper hotel room. And this girl specifically like made comments like, hey, she was like, he was saying like he missed her or something. And she was like, you need to go home and be with your wife and da 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 da. And he was like, of course I care about her, but I care about you too. And like, he was trying to he was like sweet talking her and trying to like build her trust. At this point, they'd already had sex anyway. She didn't care. Like, this girl did not care. She's dirty, rebellious. Like, I can't even think of the word. The stuff I found out about this girl as I went on. So I'll fast forward just to tell you this about her. I ended up finding out my mom went to work and was talking to one of her friends about what happened. And this new hire was like, hey, what's her name? I know her. That's my best friend's ex-best friend. This woman slept with her friend's husband. And she slept with multiple men that were in relationships, and she just does not care. She has 2 kids of her own. I know she has like a son and a daughter that's younger. And she's like a 49-year-old woman. So he's sleeping with a girl that's like 20 years older than me. And she literally does not care that he has a girlfriend. She's done this multiple times. And there are women out there that are really like this, who really are serial cheaters, and they believe it is the man's responsibility and it has nothing to do with me. So whenever I actually eventually reached out to her, that's exactly what she told me. She told me she was going to call the police on me when I messaged her. She messaged me like a fake account. And that I was just calling to like be, what's up? What happened? Like, what's going on? Like, you slept with my man. And she was like, you need to check the man, not me. And I get that, like 100%, he's the one who bears responsibility, but also you're wrong too. And for any women out there that hold that thought process of, it's not my relationship, I'm blind, it has nothing to do with me, you're so wrong. You're so wrong. And you have, I'm trying to think of the best way. What would you say this in like psychology? You have what we would call a cognitive distortion. It's where you create like a loophole in your mind to see something like in a different way to like comfort yourself. And we have cognitive distortions in about a lot of different ways. Anyway, and then, so I'm going through these messages. I'm going through Trey's messages as well. And Trey's a girl, by the way. I was wondering at first. I was like, please tell me he's not secretly gay too. He's not. Her name is like Treyshana or Treyana, whatever. She's a manager at Frito-Lay. 3rd shift. He works 2nd shift with Jennifer Kennedy. Anyway, so this one is a little bit younger, but she also knows about me because she's saying things in the chat about me as well. And what I realized is the week before, when I had planned a whole Valentine's Day night for him, like ran him a bubble bath and did all that, he was taking nudes in that bathtub. He sent me this exact same picture to her. Literally, he sent it to her, downloaded the app and sent it to them and was sexting them during our Valentine's Day celebration when I was like letting him take a 30-minute bubble bath while I was setting up the living room. That was like a next level of betrayal as well. It's like, you were doing this while I was doing all this for you. Okay. So I go ahead and I screenshot the messages from both girls and send them to each other. Yes, I did. I was like, y'all need to know he's messing with the whole staff of Frito-Lay. Both of y'all work together. He's messing with both of y'all. Ain't none of y'all special. And y'all both messed up. I don't care about nobody's feelings. Anyway, so after that, I tried calling my mom and sister, but this is like 3 a.m. Nobody's answering the phone. And in my mind, I'm like, Alicia, can you like hold off from saying anything to him so you can think about how you want to handle that? Because I know there's some girls who do that. I don't know how you do that because I am not that girl. No, I woke him up out of his sleep. Get up, get up, get up. I couldn't even wait. And I just held up the phone. I was so calm. I just sat there. It's like, I turned on the light. I was like, wake up, wake up. And he was like, what's going on? And I just held the phone up with the messages, and he looked so confused. I could see his mind like toggling on what to say, what to do, but his face was like emotionless. And I could see he was, and one of the first things he said is, he said, I know you're leaving. I know this was a deal breaker. You know how many conversations I had with this man about how I thought cheating was so disrespectful and loyalty is the number one thing to me, and how cheating was a deal breaker. And he looked me in my face and told me like he would never cheat on me. I like made him promise. I was like, do you promise you would never cheat on me? Like, look me in my eyes. He said, I promise I would never do anything to hurt you. I would never do anything to cheat on you. We had this conversation multiple times, because this is the thing. If you can't be loyal to me, what? I have men in my DM every day that I don't talk to, that I ignore every day. But you get a little attention from this lady that is 20 years older than you, and you fold. Ladies, that's not a you problem. That's an insecurity problem on the man. Okay? You feel so insecure in yourself that you get any attention, you don't know how to handle it. And things started to connect the dots when I found out about cheating, like a lot of other things that didn't feel like a big deal. It just started to make sense. And that's the thing is, unless you're like dating this guy that's super duper fine and used to girls coming up to them, men don't get that same attention women get. And when they get it, a lot of times they fold and don't know how to handle it because it like does something to their ego. But that's not my problem. That's your problem. And men need to be doing that work so that they're not so easily manipulated and foldable. And even him being with the baddest bitch, me, bad in every way. I'm beautiful. I'm loyal. I'm loving as fuck. I'm so loving. I am tell you you're amazing and you can do anything in the world daily type of girlfriend. I'm a pay attention to what you like, get it for you, pop up, let's do this, surprise you girlfriend. I'm get close to your family, care about your family, build relationships with everybody in your family, take care of your niece, get close with your niece girlfriend. I'm wait up an extra couple hours until you get back from work because I just want to spend a few hours with you before I go to bed, messes up my schedule type of girlfriend. Okay? So to fumble me is just a prime example of how, ladies, you can be doing everything. And if that man is not happy with himself, if that man has stuff he needs to work out with himself, it doesn't matter. He's going to mess up. He's going to do, it doesn't have anything to do with you. There's nothing that you could have done. And that is one thing I will tell you I feel really proud about in this whole experience is that I never once blamed myself. I never once was like, I wish I would have done that. I wish I would have done this. No. Everything in our relationship was top tier. You could check it off. There was nothing that was slacking. Okay? So, when I found this out, I can literally tell you my heart dropped. My whole world was spinning. I felt like I was living in a whole lie. I was like, what is happening? It was like you're trying to mourn your future, sit with reality. My mind is trying to come up with any reason why this is not true. And I'm also sitting there trying to think about like how I could have noticed this before. And it was hard. Like I spent most of the days crying in the months leading up. I barely got to a point now where I don't cry every day. Barely. I still cry every other day. And it's just mourning, and that's okay. So back to whenever I woke him up in bed. He made that comment about knowing I was going to leave, and I was like, yeah, you're right. I told him to get out the apartment right in that moment, and he refused to get out. So I called my mom. My mom finally answered, and she came, and she got me, and I got my stuff, and I left that day and slept at my mom's house just to be separated from everything. And I returned the next day and back to my apartment and basically like kicked him out. And we were broken up for a couple weeks. So keep in mind when this happened, this was mid-February. My birthday's March 9th. This was like 2.5 weeks before my birthday. And he was supposed to be working with my sister for this big surprise for my 29th birthday. And I'm literally like, not only am I mourning this whole relationship, my birthday's ruined. And that was hard. So fast forward, anyway, he ends up doing everything for my birthday. I like an attempt to make up in a sense. He pays for everything. He buys all the stuff I need, flowers, bouquet. He buys me a new bike that I've been wanting. He does he basically sets everything up, orders my cake for my photo shoot, gets I don't know how many dozen roses. It was a lot of them because for my pictures, and then just sends my sister some money for our party. I'm not gonna lie, him doing that definitely made me feel better. I was like, okay, at least he didn't ruin my birthday too, and it kind of softened my heart a little bit. Lord, which is stupid, but I mean it's just a part of the process. And so a couple weeks after that breakup happened, we split rent in our apartment. So even though I had kicked him out, I really didn't have any right to. Both of our names were on the lease. And so he asked me after a couple weeks if he could basically just come sleep on the couch, and we would just avoid each other. And we tried doing that, but that was it was so hard. Being in the same energy as him, thinking of the good times, him apologizing, him acting very nice, very sweet, me just mourning and trying to figure out what's going on. So in this process, we decide we'll try. We'll see what we'll do is not guaranteed that we're not getting back together necessarily, but let's go to therapy. We'll both do individual therapy. We started reading this book. It's called The Courage to Stay. And honestly, anybody going through infidelity who is trying to make it work, I highly recommend this, because I feel like there's this narrative out there that if your significant other cheats, just leave. Don't do anything else. Just leave. And even though that sounds really nice and it sounds very strong, that shit is hard as fuck. And it's kind of mean to just expect somebody to just expect somebody to completely abandon this person that they thought they were spending the rest of their life with. That was really hard to me. Even though he had abandoned me throughout the last 6 months of our relationships, I was learning. It was still kind of all sinking in, and I was in denial that I was losing this entire future that I had planned with this person. And so I had some terms on us trying to work it out. And the terms were basically different things that after he cheated, I kind of realized other areas that I was allowing him to slack, that I was kind of ignoring or making exceptions for. So I set some terms that I wanted from him and how I wanted him to show up in the relationship, how I wanted him to show up for me. It was 8 things. And a part of those things was to go to therapy and to read this book together and have these discussions. So for about 2 months, we did that. And I will tell you, out of those 2 months, he went to maybe 10 out of, he went to 2 or 3 out of 10 of his therapy appointments. He was missing it. He was forgetting about them. He was not clicking the right link. And I'm literally thinking to myself, you're telling me that you're heartbroken, that you're about to lose me, and that you're going to do every possible thing to make this work, and you can't even remember your therapy appointments. I literally was like, what the fuck, Alicia? I'm like, now this is something I can't really rationalize. And I found myself being like, hey, he's getting ready to walk out to go play basketball. And I'm like, I know his therapy appointment starts in 5 minutes. And I'm waiting to see if he just misses it or what. And I'm he's walking out the door and I'm like, hey, where are you going? Play basketball. Oh, what about your therapy appointment in 5 minutes? Oh, shoot. Yeah. I'll just do it in the car on the way to play basketball or da da da. And he's like kind of even a little aggravated that I'm like pointing this out to him. And I'm like, at this point, it starts making it easier and easier to disconnect. Like I am mentally disconnecting from this person. And honestly, that really served me and helped me kind of go through the process because it made me feel even more sure. And so he's constantly missing therapy appointments. We're reading our books together. The first time we read our book together, it ended up in like a fight because I was so mad. Like it just is stirring stuff up. But honestly, who cares? Like, this is me going through my process of grieving and I'm mad and I have things I want to say. And if you can't sit with me in my uncomfortable feelings that you cause, then like you don't have any right to have the healed version of me. Like you broke me, bro. You're not willing to sit there and help me heal as I'm working through the shit that you did. Then I don't even like that's just another thing. It's like, okay, another reason I don't want to be with you. You literally don't even have patience to sit with my uncomfortable feelings. They're aggravating to you. And then so from there, like it's like he never initiated reading the book. I'd be like, hey, should we read the book tonight? Hey, should we do this tonight? And it was me doing it. And sometimes we do it, sometimes we wouldn't. Another thing the book suggested was like to have like set a time and have meetings. Like basically, instead of me bringing up like my anger every day, every time I thought it, so it's like we're constantly arguing. The book told me to like basically write down my feelings and questions that I have for him, and we discuss it like on our scheduled meetings once a week. And that was like Thursday, 10, 11 a.m. So we did that for a couple weeks, and like when we'd have those conversations, it turned into an argument, or I mean, it just wasn't a comfortable conversation, which of course I expected, especially the first couple of months. Like it's gonna be hard. And so he started being resistant to having the conversations because he didn't want me to be mad. He didn't like me being mad. And I told him, I was like, I know that you're like resistant to doing these things because you don't want me to be mad. But I'm telling you, that is just pushing me further away from you. I need to see you putting in the effort and dealing with my uncomfortable emotions and feelings and you pushing past your uncomfortable feelings. Because he is somebody who was like, I know growing up, he was criticized a lot by his dad, and his dad was very hard on him. His dad was very much like, da, 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 da. And so whenever he receives criticism, he shuts down. And me being like psychology counseling person I am, bro, I understood it. So like it's like me, I could wrap my head around it. I didn't take it as personal. I would like kind of coach him to work through it. And I kind of realized there was a pattern in that in our relationship is like I was coaching him through his negative treatment of me because I could understand it and working through those things. And I was like, I'm doing this a lot. Like, I feel like I'm always trying to help you see something or coach you through something. And I'm like, is this like normal? Because I know like you're supposed to help your partner, but like I feel like I'm doing this a lot. And it was hard to know because honestly, he was one of the most healthy relationships I've ever had. And I know relationships is kind of one of those things in my life that I'm going to have to figure out as I go. And it's not my strong suit because I was raised without my father. I was raised without really seeing a healthy dynamic in a relationship. And so I'm really creating this and learning as I go. And I know that there are a lot of things maybe that sometimes I understand or downplay because it's better than what I saw. Okay. And so I have a higher tolerance for certain things. But like as I went through this relationship and as I've healed and as I am continuously healing and questioning my thought processes and how I work through things, I am just learning that like you shouldn't be trying to fix people. And I know that's also the coach in me, but like most of your relationships shouldn't be trying to understand and like fix somebody. Now, I might have a greater capacity to understand and have empathy for somebody, but like I also need to be getting that in return. And there were just things like that that I noticed in our relationship. I felt like I was always doing more helping than I was receiving. Like I was caught up in his world a lot more than he was ever caught up in my world. And if you guys haven't already listened to the episode with Massey, we talk about codependency. And that's something as I've been going through my healing process, I've realized I have codependency. And to summarize, like codependency, for me, how that manifested is my happiness was dictated by how this other person was living their life. And it caused me to not be focused on my life. It caused me not to be focused on my business because I was basically like, did he do what he said he was going to do? Did he go to his hair appointment? Did he miss his hair appointment again? Did he miss his doctor's appointment again? What are your grades in school? Did you do this? Oh, you told me you were going to do this. You didn't do this. And it was like, I was finding myself aggravated so much throughout our relationship because he wasn't doing what he said he was going to do. He wasn't keeping his word. And I was like, that's not normal. One, I don't need to be focused on this other person's life so much that I'm trying to control it and nitpick it. So that's a me thing I need to fix. But two, I also shouldn't like be with somebody who is like can't keep their word. And for me, it was a deal breaker. Like I'm realizing for myself, a deal breaker for me is somebody who's not responsible because I'm very responsible and on top of my stuff. And it's like, I felt like I always had to be on top of your stuff. So you're adding more to my like table. You're adding more to my plate. It's becoming more of like a burden. And I would message him and I'd be like, hey, have you called your mom? Like, I know you told your mom you're going to start talking to her more. Like, have you called your mom this week? Have you called your mom this week? This month? Have you called your dad? Maybe you should check in with your grandparents. You haven't talked to them in months. Or like, hey, let's go do this. Like, I was like checking in and trying to make sure he was maintaining relationships in his life. Anyways, so we're giving it a good go. And he's not showing up in a lot of the ways. He's doing better in some ways, but I still feel like I'm like forcing him to do stuff. And so I just made the decision to stop speaking up about stuff and just see if he would do it. And I know it was me exercising control because I didn't want to lose this relationship. I really wanted more than anything for him to fix his issues and just we have a whole new, brand new, beautiful relationship that we could create that was better because he realized like losing me, like he had these other issues and he was going to fix them. He's in therapy. Like I was like, okay, maybe we can just create something so much more beautiful. And I really hope for that. But then I had to be really honest with myself. And for somebody who has like daddy wounds and relationship wounds, I'm just going to tell this to you because this is something I've learned through this experience. And you hear it, but like, let me just say it again. Trust actions, not words. That is so hard for me. If you're telling me all these things, I want to believe you. I want to see it. But are the actions lining up? Are they lining up? You're telling me you love me, you don't want to lose me, but you're missing your therapy appointments. You're not initiating reading the book. You're not taking steps to make sure you don't lose me. That might have nothing to do with me, but it has everything to do with you. And you're not able to meet my needs. If you're not able to meet my needs, then I need to love myself enough to walk away. And so during this whole process, like I'm crying every day. I'm mad every day. And he feels the energy shift because like, even though we have good days, I'm just not all about him like I used to be. It's like, it's cool. Like I just realized like there's kind of a love fog and you can kind of live in a little fantasy when you have a love fog and lie to yourself a little bit more. And now that like I was just seeing this part of him, it made me feel more distant. It kind of gave me a clearer vision on who he was. And so this part where I was back with him definitely played a big role in me being able to make those mental connections and mentally begin to like pull away and step away. So that's already happening, right? And then like the final string, well, the last two final strings where I decided that I was going to leave was one, he accidentally butt dialed me while he was at work. And when he butt dialed me, he was talking to one of the girls that he had actually cheated on me with. They weren't talking about anything inappropriate, but he was just having a conversation with her. And it was with a group of other people, but she was talking and she referenced herself in third person. And that's how I knew he was talking to her. And that's why I'm telling you guys, I haven't said this yet, but I am been so protected through this whole thing. Every time I tried to rationalize or understand something, his true colors would show. Things would pop up. I would see things for how they really were. And this is an example. Like I'm trying to make it work with this person. I'm on the edge because he's not doing what he says he's going to do. I'm already starting to pull away. And then you break another promise to me because one of the things that we talked about when we were getting back together was that you would have no contact with these people at work. So Jennifer, basically from me messaging her, she basically told her job about it. And they basically were like, hey, if Alicia reaches out to you again, that he could get fired from his job. So when we were deciding to work it out, so like I was just done. Like I wasn't going to continue that conversation with her. We really didn't even talk that much. It was just like she was mad because what I did is I sent screenshots of his messages to me telling me that she meant nothing to him and that he was just talking nice to her to get into her draws and that she meant absolutely nothing. And I screenshotted those messages and sent it to her, and her little heart broke. Her big heart broke. And so her feelings were hurt, and she told her job that I was messaging her. So they moved her to a different part of the warehouse, supposedly, from what he told me, where like they don't necessarily interact every day. So it would have been easy for him not to talk to her. He was like, the manager told him not to talk to her, right? And then Trey worked the third shift or the shift after him. So he only worked with her when he like worked overtime. So there was really no reason to talk to her, but she was the manager on the shift. So his excuse that day is that he went up to talk to her to ask her for the schedule about him working overtime. But there are other managers you could have messaged. You were confident enough to walk up to her and to just have a conversation with her after you had already promised me that you weren't going to be talking to her anymore. You had already disrespected me so many times. You can't even like keep your word and not talk to this person. So he butt dialed me during that 30-second conversation, hung up. I called right back. He tried to lie to me and say it was another coworker. Then he was like, okay, I'm not going to lie. It was her. I'm like, I know. All right. So I tell him, like, don't come home. Like, I don't want to see you, like, whatever. So I basically tell him the next time we see each other, hey, if you want to continue to try to make this work, another chance, bro. I know. I told him you would need to find a new job. I had already told him this. That was a part of like the beginning when I told you 8 things he needed to do. One of them was you have 3 months to find a new job. It wasn't even like you need to find a new job right now. You need to quit. I gave you 3 months. In that 3 months, he did not look for a new job at all. And he basically told me, I'm not leaving this job. And I said, if you're not leaving that job, then I'm leaving you. And he was like, okay, well, I'm not leaving this job. And I was like, okay, he literally thinks I'm joking. At that moment, everything everything became super easy for me. You're choosing this $28 hour job at Frito-Lay, working in a warehouse, making chips over me? You didn't even try to find another job? That shows like how little you really value me. And it's just crazy because I know my worth is so much more than $28 an hour at Frito-Lay. And at that point, it just became disrespectful, like a different level of disrespect. It made it so easy for me to walk away. And so I basically, at that point, he was sleeping on the couch, I was sleeping on the bed, and I was just deciding how we're going to make it, how I was going to walk away. And I talked to him about staying in our apartment because I found that apartment. I love that apartment. It was a great apartment complex. We had great views of the city. It had all the amenities. It was nice. It was new. But he was like, our lease isn't up until May, so I'm not leaving until May. And I think in a sense, he thought that that would stop me from leaving. So I basically found an apartment locator and found another apartment. And I moved out in the next week and a half, 2 weeks. And he didn't know I was leaving. He just saw the boxes, and that's when I guess like reality set in for him that I was gone and gonna be gone for real. And we had a whole cruise planned. We were supposed to go on a cruise like a week or 2 weeks after I left. He was trying to do everything to sabotage that trip. He was trying to force me to make him go on that trip. He canceled my trip, but it didn't work because we didn't have the cruise insurance, so you can't do that. He actually canceled my trip. He disputed it with his bank and everything. And I still went on the trip because I was meant to be on that trip and you weren't. And I know this is really hard on him. I know like walking away and losing me is very hard for him. But also, you have to think about it like this. And I want you to think about this too, guys, when you guys are going through a breakup and somebody cheats, because this is just how I've had to realize it. Whenever he was deciding to sleep with these other girls, knowing that that was the deal breaker for me, he had to make a decision. Is it worth the risk of losing Alicia to be able to have these moments that are exciting? He made the decision it's worth the risk of losing Alicia to be able to have sex with these women, okay? And then when we made the decision of him going to therapy and staying, he made the decision of not being responsible, not showing up to his therapy appointments. And then when he was laid down with his job or Alicia. He chose his job over me. How many times can I let somebody choose? How many times can I let somebody else not choose me before I walk away? In my mind, I let him do that too many times already. But it was the perfect amount for me to feel a lot more mentally capable of walking away and more sure of walking away. And I have been in my new apartment for about a month now, and this stuff is hard. It's really hard because there were a lot of beautiful parts in our relationship. And I know I'm kind of outlining the ugly parts and what happened, but there were a lot of also other beautiful parts in between. This person was like my best friend, you know? We spent all our time together. So it's like mourning a partner, mourning somebody that you were planning on spending the rest of your life with. And it's hard, but I can tell you it is getting easier every day. And if you are somebody who is going through a breakup, take it one day at a time. There's no perfect way of doing this. This stuff is messy. It's so messy. There are days I miss him so much. And then there are days where I hate him, like just to be honest. And it has raised my standard for my next relationship. It has made me better. And at the end of the day, you have to tell yourself, is this the person that this person is right now? Not who they can be, but who they are showing me they are right now. Is this who I'd want my son to be? Is this who I want my daughter to look up to? Is this how I'd want my daughter to be treated? Is this the type of person I want my daughter to be in a relationship with? And those questions made it easier for me to walk away because no, I don't want my son to be like this man. No, I don't want my daughter to date this man. Then why am I here? Okay. I had to choose myself, and that was hard. It was really hard, but I did it. And I'm doing it every day, and I'm trying. And I did not realize how traumatic breakups were until I went through this. Any of your friends, family going through a breakup, especially after infidelity, like please just make some space in your life to be there for them because this shit is traumatic. But that is what happened. That is some of the details of my breakup. That is why I have been gone for the last month and what I've been processing and what I still am processing. And I hope that this helps give you some, insight or some inspiration or clarity in your relationship. If you feel like you're noticing some of these signs or your gut is making you feel a little, and you're not sure if you should trust it, stop gaslighting yourself. Trust yourself. Do what's best for yourself. Choose yourself. It's going to be messy. You're not going to do it perfect. Last thing I will say, and I think that this is really important, is as I was going through this whole experience, I just want to shout out to my sister because I needed somebody like this, and we all need somebody like this. So whether you've been cheated on or you're a friend of somebody who's been cheating on, guys, we don't need somebody telling us what we need to do. We don't need somebody telling us you need to leave, you need to go. We need somebody who is there with us and allows us to hold space for our own feelings and our own thoughts. I had to go through these feelings. I had to go through these emotions. I had to go through my mental map to figure this out. And the whole time I was going through that, my sister was like, yeah, that makes sense. Okay. If that's what you feel. She was also like, but if you feel this, it's okay too. If you choose to stay, it is okay. It's okay. If this person decides to fix what they're working on, and you feel and raw regret is like them actually putting the action to fix what's going on, and you feel like this is somebody you can actually forgive, you have to be honest if you can forgive too. If you're going to be mad forever, you can't forgive. You have to be honest with yourself and move on and be brave and move on. But relationships can be restored after cheating, and that's one thing I learned from the book we were reading and watching a lot of videos afterwards. It doesn't have to be the end all be all, but it should be the end all be all if this person is not actually changing, if you're not actually developing a new relationship, if you guys are actually not being new people. And I hope that warms some of your hearts. I know some people will be mad hearing that because they feel like it should just be a no, you hurt me, walk away. And sometimes it should be that, but sometimes it's not. And I want to give you permission to trust yourself and do what feels best for you. You'll figure it out. All right. I want to wrap it up by just going ahead and letting you guys know I am launching my next group coaching program. It's going to take place in Dallas. More details will be online, but I am still open to the free consultation calls. If you're interested, I am giving out the information there. I haven't posted it publicly yet, so you guys are the first to know here on the podcast. if you are wanting to work one-on-one with me or wanting to work with me in my group coaching program, you can click the link in my bio on Instagram and schedule a free consultation call. In that consultation call, we'll talk about what you're going through, and I'll offer a little coaching during that, because what I really want to see is if we're a good fit for each other. I want to see if I'm going to be the best coach for you, and if you're going to be a client that I feel like would be a good match for me to work with as well. So if you're somebody who is struggling with a transition in life, struggling with trusting yourself and standing up for yourself, if you're somebody who's struggling to trust your own voice, and you want to create a life that you love, but you just can't figure out the pieces, then my coaching is probably the right fit for you. If you're somebody who is struggling with people pleasing and perfectionism and trusting your own voice, that is what this program is about. So rather you want to do the group coaching program or potentially one-on-one, I'm only taking a limited amount of one-on-one clients. But I do have 8 spots for the group coaching. Then go ahead and schedule that free consultation call or message me if you have questions. I do have payment plan options, and this first one is a beta in-person program. So it is going to be at a lower rate. So definitely lock it in if that's something you feel like you need. And if you're somebody who's not in Dallas and you want to do the next round, which will be a virtual group coaching program, you can still reach out to me and I can put you on the wait list for the virtual group coaching program. But that is it today. Please, guys, if you haven't already, subscribe to my podcast. Currently, I'm only on Spotify, but I am in the process of trying to get on all streaming platforms. If you have a friend who has been cheated on and is struggling and working through it, you can send this episode to them. And on that note, thank you guys so much for listening to the Life You Love podcast. I hope you all enjoyed this episode. If you like what you heard, make sure you subscribe or schedule a free consultation call to see if you're a right fit for my group or my one-on-one program. If you enjoyed this episode or enjoyed previous episodes, please leave us a 5-star review. That is just going to help me know that I am doing what you want me to do and talking about stuff that you relate to, and it's going to help other people who are similar to you or similar to me find this podcast. Don't forget to also follow us on social media at the Life You Love podcast. Beginning in August, by the time this episode is out, that podcast page is going to be fully active, and you are going to be seeing teasers from all of our upcoming episodes. You can also follow me on my personal page at Alicia M Speaks on TikTok and Instagram. And if you have any suggestions for future episodes or topics that you'd like to discuss or guests you think I should bring on, feel free to reach out to us on Instagram. Until next time, remember you deserve to live a life that you love. See you next week. Bye.